Hello. All right, today we're going to talk about something that I have been challenging myself with, and it's been super helpful. So, we've got the Thinking Leads to Eating video series, which basically is teaching you how your lower brain, your habit brain, is always trying to take you back to using food for comfort, right? But in the time that I've been coaching, what I see so often for so many people is the food is not the only habit. So recommending you go eat chocolate because you had a rough day at work. Yes, that is repetitive. Yes, it is a habit. And yes, it sounds very familiar. You've heard it a bunch of times, right? But proceeding that thought, there are other habitual thoughts that lead you to diving into the chocolate. For example, one very common lower brain thought that I see show up for a lot of people is they get very perfectionistic with their work. They create a huge to-do list every day that there's no way they're going to get through it. They hear this little voice in their head saying how the whole day has to go, how much you have to get done, what everything needs to look like, how you're not being a good mom, how you're being a good wife, husband, whatever. It's talking to you constantly, right? And there is the thinking setup that leads to the thinking eating. So what I mean by that is the discomfort you're feeling often, even if it's physical, like say you got a hurt limb and you're going every 5 seconds, you're going, God, this hurts so bad. I can't wait till it gets better. The obsessive thinking about the hurt limb keeps drawing attention to it, which then your lower brain picks up on, oh, this person's struggling with pain. Let me offer up something that's going to make them feel better. Chocolate, right? So there's these thoughts that we constantly fall into. Comparison, being critical, putting way too much on our plate. All those thoughts lead to the discomfort, which leads to the eating. So there's kind of like a lead up of habitual thoughts that takes us eventually to the food. And what I have been doing lately is asking myself, what if I'm wrong? When I hear that voice come in and say, today, you got to get done, it starts to create feelings of anxiety, starts to create feelings of overwhelm, starts to make me feel a little nervous. And I say to myself, well, wait a minute, what if I'm wrong? What if I don't have to get all that done today? What if that's not true? Like I'm actually starting to back up several steps and question the lead up thinking that drives me, quote unquote, to the eating, right? I'm asking myself if these thoughts that just immediately show up and they sound super familiar and they kind of feel repetitive to a degree, it might change what it's talking about, but they're always kind of coming from similar buckets, right? Like not doing enough, not good enough, not whatever enough, this feeling of having to do, create, have more. All those thoughts create for me a sense of anxiety and stress, which then wants to bring in the eating habit, right? So I just want to encourage you, this question of what if I'm wrong, right? What if it's wrong? What if it's not true? It opens up the door to other thinking. Like, well, I know I have all this on my agenda today, but let's just take a look at this more honestly. Maybe this task and this task I could actually do tomorrow. They don't have to be done today. And the reality is, like, I can actually start to see different things I couldn't see before. When I question the initial thoughts and say, well, what if that's wrong, right? Like, oh, I need to do this, and this assignment with my kids today. What if that's wrong? What if I don't need to do that? What does that look like? Just questioning it, probing it a little bit, starts to kind of relinquish its power. It starts to feel not as heavy. Because when you look at it from the perspective of what if I'm wrong? What if that thought's wrong? Then you start to see other possibilities you couldn't see before. Because remember, habitual thinking leads to habitual eating. So all the thoughts that drive you into the arms of food, they're repetitive. They've been there before. They're not new, right? So it's kind of like, I think of like a perfect setup for the slam dunk. If I can avoid the perfect setup, maybe it will not lead to the slam dunk. So anyway, I hope this thought helps. It's been hugely helpful for me lately. Just asking the question, what if I'm wrong? The other day I woke up and I was thinking all about, my kids starting back at school and all the things I had to get done. And I said, wait a minute, what if I'm wrong? What if I were to push our start date back a little bit? What if I were to enlist some help from friends and get a few things checked off my list? What if I were to take a few days and go to the library and do some research? Like, what if my initial thought of how it had to look and what I had to get done in a certain period of time was not correct? And it's hugely helpful. So I just want to encourage you, try it on. Just as these thoughts show up, say, what if that's wrong? What if that's not true? How could it look different if it's not true? How could it look different if I had to create a different a solution to this problem, or create a different way to do today, or if I were to think about myself compared to this other person differently? All right, I hope this message helps. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.